If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges. I look back on this whole experience with deep remorse.
Jenna Ellis confessing to her crimes and discussing her, quote, remorse in court, as you can see on this chart that we've made, and this is new tonight, taking it all together. Ellis is one of the convicted in Georgia. On the upper part of the chart, you see others who are both convicted in Georgia and DOJ co-conspirators. That puts a lot more heat on a lot of people, including Mark Meadows, to cooperate in both cases and strengthens Jack Smith's hands in the DOJ trial of Donald Trump in March. I want to bring in two experienced prosecutors to discuss all of these issues. Christy Greenberg was a prosecutor at the famed SDNY, and Renato Mariotti, a former federal prosecutor. Renato, we'll bring that back up because when I say it's a lot to process, I think that would be true for anyone, especially if you haven't followed all these characters. But how has this worked out to now put more heat on Trump in the first upcoming trial?
Well, one thing for sure, he can't count on someone like Jenna Ellis or Kenneth Chesebro coming in and potentially letting him off the hook by saying that they gave him legal advice that said that this was okay, or had conversations with him that may have given him comfort. Instead, I think there's a real prospect that they're going to be coming in and they're going to be testifying for the prosecution and painting a very different picture and potentially revealing things about Donald Trump's state of mind that are going to actually potentially lead to a conviction on, for example, a conspiracy to defraud the United States.
Christy, when you look at the pressure on people like Meadows and Giuliani, these vows from other lawyers mean that they're going to go in Georgia and be talking all about their emails and meetings and pressers. I mean, Sidney Powell and Jenna Ellis were all around Giuliani. Does that put a lot of heat on them that might make their lawyers recommend a plea, whereas a month ago they could have said, well, if nobody pleads, maybe you roll the dice?
Well, certainly the pressure is on Giuliani based on Jenna Ellis's statement. Essentially, what she said was, I relied on more experienced lawyers, meaning Rudy Giuliani, to provide truthful and reliable information. Essentially, I was duped. I trusted them and I shouldn't have done it. They had more experience. So she's directly pointing the finger at Rudy Giuliani here. The larger question is whether that's all that credible. I think her value as a cooperator, I think, to Jack Smith would be if she had said not, oh, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done something differently. It's, no, what did you know then? And what did others know then? What did Donald Trump know then? What did Rudy know then? Did you really think when you said that Donald Trump won in a landslide that there was evidence to support that? She went on and on about the facts and the evidence, and now to claim that she was just relying on others, I think she still has a credibility problem. So I think if she's going in to see Jack Smith, he's going to really press her on these claims, what she knew and what her conversations were with others, to make sure that she is fully owning her own conduct before she just points the finger at others.
Right. And that statement is one she drafted, as you both know from your experience, and to remind viewers, in a criminal case, you're answering very targeted questions. You're not waxing philosophically on remorse, unless you get to the sentencing phase. And Renato, I want to put up the federal chart that we showed. So this is DOJ Jan 6 defendants. When that first came down the pike, people thought, oh, why so many unindicted co-conspirators? So those are all the folks listed here as co-conspirators. One of them we still don't know. Do you think, Renato, that Jack Smith's strategy here is working if, as ABC reports, he has Meadows cooperating, he has these other co-conspirators now facing heat in Georgia? It seems that he has a better hand even than he had a few months ago.
Absolutely. I think what he tried to do here is have a streamlined indictment that could get him to trial quickly before the election. So you have one defendant, Trump. You have a streamlined set of charges. He wrote around the fact that Mark Meadows existed. It's pretty obvious when you read the indictment. These other people aren't charged. He doesn't have a statute of limitations issue as to these other people, and he can make a decision at the end of the day. Is someone like Powell, has she done enough? Has she suffered enough here? Is she being helpful? Sort of hanging something over her head. Maybe he won't charge her. Someone like Rudy Giuliani, maybe he will. It really, leaves the door open for them to potentially decide, you know what? I'm going to cooperate, and maybe Jack Smith will decide I'm not worth his effort.
Christy, does that make Jack Smith somewhat lucky, or is a good strategy one that you can move in different directions? In other words, without Georgia, he would have a slightly modified but similar plan. And with Georgia now, he's not blind to what's happening. Meadows is facing a kind of heat where his lawyers are obviously telling him, figure this out as you go. And if he gets out from under the federal thing, it's hard to imagine him holding strong forever in Georgia. Why would someone do that if they've already started cooperating elsewhere on a similar fact pattern?
So Meadows is an interesting case. It's not clear that there's a distinction between getting immunity and being a full-fledged cooperator and having a cooperation agreement in the federal system. It looks like what he has, based on public reporting, is use immunity. So anything he has said to the prosecutors in meetings with them or into the grand jury can't be used against him. And it seems as though maybe what Jack Smith is trying to do, at least, is to find out what he knows and at least ensure at a minimum that he's not going to be a good defense witness for Donald Trump. You know, he's saying in his book things like DOJ didn't investigate election fraud and, you know, the election was rigged. And then you have reporting that he's going into Jack Smith and saying none of that's true. What I said in my book was just to sell books, essentially. So closing out those key pieces of evidence with respect to Meadows is incredibly important. You know, whether or not the fact that it's compelled tells you that he is not fully on Team USA, but still giving valuable information to Jack Smith in his case.
Renato, do you think these are winnable cases against Meadows and Giuliani and the remainders in Georgia?
I do, and I think part of the reason why is you do have this sort of shotgun effect of what Fani Willis did. You know, if you fire a shotgun at a crowd of people, you're going to hit somebody, right? And she's already hit some targets. She's bagged a few targets. I think what she sent is a message to the other defendants that she's reasonable. She's not going to pursue the maximum possible penalty. She's not going to try to squeeze them to have a very tough resolution. She's looking for cooperators. She's looking for people to plead guilty now, and they'll get a reasonable deal if they do. So I really think the pressure now is on someone like a Giuliani. If you're Giuliani, you're running out of legal fees. You've actually been sued by some of these fine election workers in Georgia who he defamed. He's got a whole host of problems here. Maybe it's attractive for him to be Jenna Ellis and show some remorse in order to get a lenient deal.